Here we go. Should take just a second.
I'll post in the channel.
Crap. Got paint on myself.
Aha, we all get paint on ourselves.
It's yellow ink. So Beasley, just to clarify, you're just going to talk about the Sylvaneth stuff, and I should chime in if I deem it appropriate, and then I'll drive the next list or next faction.
Yeah, what would you rather do, Sylvaneth or Stormcast?
I would prefer Sylvaneth.
Do it then.
Okay.
So we're going to let people filter in just a little bit, but just for the one person watching, hi there. This is Matt from Always Strikes Last. I've got Mason Knox and Matt Beasley. We're going to go through Matt Beasley's amazing tournament that he set up. There's a ton of lists that are coming in, and we're just going to look at how they work. And I'm going to provide some choice commentary of no value, while they both provide amazing, valuable content. So thanks, guys. Let's get started. I'm certain people will filter in. And if you want to message or anything, I'll be right here to ask any questions. If you see anything on the list, by all means, ask away. Hey, Dale.
Hey, Dale. The only thing I'll add, this is for Sparkle Party Deathmatch 7, Fun in the Purple Sun. And our goal with this is, if you watch this by the end, when you walk up to the table, you'll have a basic idea of what should I expect this list to do and how should I operate to function. We're not going to go, or how should I expect it to function? We're not going to go into how you play against it, but just sort of review how stuff works and talk about what we like. All right. So Mason, we've got 4 Sylvaneth lists, 3 Heartwood and a Sylvan, and a Heartwood.
Okay,
So
they're all Heartwood.
They're all Heartwood. Everybody likes Heartwood.
Yep.
So Adam P's list is up first. Take it away.
Okay, cool. Well, since they're all Heartwood, that's nice. I can get out of the way now. That's like the Kurnoth Hunter ideal one, and they're just juicy, I think. So this makes a lot of sense. This guy here, Lady of Vines, is gonna try to make it a small castle around her, because she's going to have a spell to dole out the ward that army's always really wanted. Durthu is going to be the hard hitter here. Looking at the units, they've got the tree revs, which are going to be able to teleport around, the unit of seekers to revive stuff, and then a few units of Kurnoths, 2 with great swords. So they're going to go in and they have the more attacks of the melee ones, but less rend. And then the great bows, 3 of them to just shoot you. They have artillery range 30 inches. So I think a little castle-y, of course, they can always strike out and come back. That's just going to be an advantage for all of these Sylvaneth lists. But this one's a little interesting. I think this one's more castle-y.
Yeah, one thing that I think I'd add is, and I think you'll see this common, as those 2x5 tree remnants. Sylvaneth do castle back pretty far, and one of the things that's I think pretty important is getting that a bonus point from Barge with the two tree revenant units. I think you'll probably see that as a common theme to score one of the only 3-point battle tactics available.
Yeah, I agree. Kind of hard to stop. Okay, I like this one.
Except for this one, which does not have that.
This one is, I think, kind of a carbon copy of a list that did really well at the tournament you went to. It's got Alarielle, which is going to try to likely be a strike and fade target. She's going to go in and try to beat on something and then get the heck out of dodge.
We talk about Hammerfest? This was like the 3rd place Hammerfest list?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, Alarielle is going to try to bomb in there, cannonball in there, and then be able to get out of dodge. So I think expect that pretty frequently. You've got the Arch Revenant there who buffs up the Kurnoth Hunters. And then if you look down, it's only Kurnoth Hunters to round out the list. 6 with size, 2 units of 3 with great bows. That Scythes unit can also do that cannonball trick as well if they just want to leave Alarielle back. So they kind of have 2 units that they could threaten to go and then leave, and then 2 units of great bows. We just talked about that 30-inch range. They're just gonna kind of rain down from afar. And again, with Heartwood, they get to pick 3 units on the battlefield to give +1. So as long as your Kurnoths are targeting those, it's pretty good value to always have +1 attack.
Yeah.
One of the things I like about this list is how it's set up as a 1-drop. It doesn't have any galley vets, and you can control turn order. But in scenarios where you would need a galley vet based on how you want the turn order to go, or how the scenario is for, say, a proving grounds, Alarielle can always summon, like, one of her options is 20 galley vets.
Mm-hmm.
I do kind of worry that there's only, Alarielle as a caster there, which means trees could be in short supply maybe later on, depending on the matchup.
Yeah, I would imagine this list will probably want to rail you, railgun you off the board here pretty early. They kind of treating Alarielle as a ranged unit because she's going to bomb in there. That Spitestorm Hive, to mention it, just can give her a pretty big plus to charge. I think it's +3. Yep. And the Warsinger command trait on the Arch Revenant increases Alarielle's move by 3 when she starts near him, which you're going to do. So all of a sudden, this Alarielle is very threatening and then zips back. So that's like a ranged unit in a way. A little threatening if you don't get your 3 or 4 inch charge. That's a bummer. But yeah, this one's potent, but got to be precise, I think.
Yeah, very much a hammer with a scalpel taped to it.
All right, and we've got, this is John's list.
Okay, sweet deal.
Ooh, I'm excited.
Again, a 1-drop, which makes sense. Cron Spine, I noticed just working bottom to top here. Cron Spine in there is really awesome. It's a reinforced unit of Lancers. That's kind of neat. So 6 Lancers. Again, we see the 2 units of Tree Revenants. Those Galley Vet teleporting guys. They're really valuable for Sylvaneth. At least the 2 units. That's again a reinforced unit of Great Bows. So this is really nice. The Warsong Revenant is quite potent in her own right. If you don't know, she does a big bomb effect. It pulses around her, and it can potentially be a lot of dice on 5-ups for mortals, but she can also do it through a tree. So it's pretty gross. This list seems interesting, like multi-threat with that Warsong Revenant, a big unit of bows, a reinforced unit of Lancers, and then the Cron Spine. A lot of different threats on melee and range front. So yeah, this is gonna be pretty potent.
I like the Geminids on there too, because those could go through the trees too, right?
It can,
Yes.
and they do something really important for Sylvaneth, which is so Sylvaneth Strike and Fade relies on a successful charge, and unless you're teleporting up to do that charge, if you're doing it with flyers, like if you get a redeploy against you and you fail that charge, it can put you in a really awkward position. And so the Geminids are a nice techie safety net for Sylvaneth because they prevent redeploy on something they hit, which allows you to set up your aggressive play in a way where you don't have to stress about a redeploy messing up your Strike and Fade.
Yeah, especially when Sylvaneth just seem to have very light unit counts too, so you can't really prepare for it that much.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
All right, this
I hope to fight that one.
Travis, I think has only played, I think I've only seen Travis play Soulblight, and it's an amazing painted Soulblight army. So I really want to see this, like, just physically see what it looks like.
Yeah, I think he had this I think he did have Sylvaneth at my event.
Oh, did he? Oh, I just missed it. Okay.
Yeah, it was very cool. Heavily converted. Classic him. It's very unique stuff. Okay, so again, we're looking at a Lady of Vines, Arch Revenant, and Drycha. So that again tells me probably like a small castle trying to get that ward. Have this Drycha is a lot of shots at ranged or melee, and 6 to hit our mortals. So I think she does like 20 on the one she chooses to buff up. So 20 range shots or 6s or mortals can be pretty devastating. So you want to keep an eye out for that. Again, the 2 units of tree revs, that's basically stapled onto the list. And then again, we see the feature of the Kurnoths, right? Before Heartwood, this just makes sense. 3 with great swords, 6 with scythes. So none with bows like we saw in the last list, but or the last 2. I think the first one also didn't have bows, or maybe 1 unit, but yeah, no bows here, favoring the great swords. And of course the unit of size, I didn't mention it before, but they're like Ren 3 2 damage, so they're very good, 2-inch range, so they'll fight in 2 ranks. This list also has a unit of the Lancers and the Spiteswarm Hive. I think probably the Hive just added just because it does fit. I think you saw some of those other ones be at like 1960 or 65, because Sylvaneth's points are funky, so you end up in weird break points. But this one's kind of nice. I feel like some of the choices maybe were to complete out that point total. I don't know necessarily, but
I think the Spiteswarm Hive lets you more reliably teleport in the size, because then you have a 6 rerollable, which gives you a 90% charge resolution chance, and then come back with them.
Yeah,
it also
it's
looks
still
fairly
great.
balanced too, right? So there's a lot of forward striking, there's a lot of hoofing, and then there's teleporting.
Yeah,
well, not that much forward striking, but a decent amount.
It's basically the choice to make your ranged threat or your alternative to melee threat the Drycha in this case, instead of the War Song, or you're losing a lot to get Alarielle, and what we saw in the other cases.
Yeah,
Drycha is great, and I do think it's
she's a 2-cast wizard too, I think, right? Maybe 1, but she's a wizard for sure.
She's a 1, but her mortal wound damage is great. She's got 3-up base save with 10 wounds. Sylvaneth just has a lot of good stuff in that 300-point sort of big monster character bracket.
I agree.
So,
yeah.
Overall, I'm curious to see how Lady of Vines pays off. Every time I look at putting her in a Sylvaneth list, I'm not super sold, but I see the value, and I know that it can pay off. I have a hard time convincing myself to want to try it, but I'm curious to see how it does.
I'm actually right there with you.
My issue with it is it's like the 5+ ward is really, really good, but because it's a named character, it's an unsupported 7. And so I just get worried. About so much of the value being in that like super powerful spell, but then like it not being safe to hit. But maybe I'm too risk averse, but I'd kind of like to see her with
why you win games. I agree. I think Cogs would be fine. Is Cogs 45 points or is it 40?
40.
Okay, so that could have been this in here instead of the Spiteswarm Hive. I see the value of Spiteswarm Hive, but of course Cogs could have been an interesting alternative.
Yeah, or like it's interesting. Like this is a cool list. I could also see, say, subbing out the 3-pack of swords to reinforce the Lancers and add a Cogs. But that does get pretty endless spell point heavy, so it's interesting.
Yeah.
It's always a balancing act with Sylvaneth.
Yeah, it's a expensive like there's a lot of good stuff, and it's all a lot of points. All right.
Yeah.
I gotta say, I'm happy at the variation in the list. So
I agree.
That's awesome. It's great to see.
Clearly,
Sylvaneth
Kurnoths are
variation.
good. And that Arch Revenant that buffs those Kurnoths are good. Heartwood's really nice to let him be your battle line. It's almost like in that weird Fulminator camp, right? With like, those Dracothian who we're about to talk about here, right? They play a similar role.
All right, so we've got Emily, Stark, and Jeremy.
Oh, nice.
I'm really bummed that Stark bailed on the like 200 skink list he sent me.
200 skinks. What?
Yeah. It's not a forever. It's a bail for now. All right.
That's almost as bad as like 800 Ungor.
Knights Excelsior. Matt D, what did Knights Excelsior do?
Oh man. Off the top of my head, I can't remember. It's been so long since I've actually played my Stormcast. I feel called out. I believe they're actually, let me check. Okay, you guys continue and look at the list.
Back to this one. You check Knights.
I'll grab the book.
I'll hit Starks and come back.
More importantly, it lets the Annihilators be battle line.
Is that what it is? That's what it is.
All right. So we got battle line Annihilators, a Lord Imperatant, which gives the Annihilators a 7-inch charge. We have Adjudicator, which is just basically a character artillery piece.
Don't forget, you can't deep strike against that guy. Well, you don't necessarily want to. You can, but
and it's interesting because you've got the artifact on the Knight Adjudicator So this is a counter shooting shooter. So if you've got like 3 long strikes on the other side of the board, the adjudicator can shoot the long strikes and the long strikes can't shoot the adjudicator. So that allows you to hold back if they have a small volume of high quality fire and force them to come into you, which is nice. You know, reinforced vindicators, and then some storm drake guard and some praetors. So these are a bodyguard unit, which I guess can be used on either the Imperator or the adjudicator.
Probably Andrasta, right? Wouldn't you want to
Well,
keep
did I
her?
miss a? Oh yeah, I'm sorry. There we go. That's what I was like. This feels like it's short points. And Yandrasta, yes, you're right. So the Praetors are sitting with Yandrasta, who is able to res the Grand Hammers, and so
Or the Praetors, right? Or the
Praetors,
bodyguard.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I guess all of, right? Because it's one of each.
Oh, gross. I forgot it is.
So just to iron this out,
Yeah.
the Knights Excelsior are the Paladin heavy ones, obviously, because they're a battle line here, but you can add one to hit and wound rolls for attacks made by a unit if they're outnumbered.
Which the Grand Hammers are
combat.
almost always going to be outnumbered. That's great. So those Grand Hammers are like
Exactly.
2s and 2s, red and 2 million, damage 5.
Well,
It's
I mean,
not
not
quite that
that
good,
much,
but
but yeah,
They're
you
going to
get
hit
the
like a
idea.
truck on a 7 rerollable charge.
yeah, so
If you
this
don't
one,
kill
just
them all,
remember
they
that
come
the
back.
Annihilators in this list, because of the Imperator, get to drop in within 7 1 unit
Right.
per turn. So if you're going to be screening or things like that, just remember they do get that capability. And it's not just them, it could be the Vindictors as well. That is a potent unit of pokers. So
I think
do care.
I think the biggest thing to note with these lists is that when the Annihilators come down, the mortal wounds can actually break your screens.
Yeah.
And so they're actually a lot of fun to play against. This is a fun list to play against.
And this is something that I hadn't seen before. This is really cool. The Annihilators are in Expert Conquerors.
As
So
well as the
3 models.
Vindictors.
Yeah, but the Annihilators being there is really interesting, right? Because that means that the unit is 6, which means if they can hit one thing and leave like a monster or a 5 model unit on objectives, just the 3 Annihilators can outnumber.
Well, they count as 9. So all they need to do is
9,
kill 1
right.
or 2 models with
Yeah.
the slam down. So even if you fail the charge, you would take the point. I think would probably be my rationale there. It's awesome, actually. You know,
Yeah,
you
it's a very
do go to a
smart
4-drop, but potentially worth it. I think that I valued the same thing in my list, spoiler alert, to not just be all low drops.
This means on any objective where you're like trying to get more, and it's like sort of 3 on your side, 3 on your opponent's side, you're on a 7 rerollable onto the weak side to get that more. That your opponent will not reliably be able to do. It's cool.
Right.
All right, we have
Oof, it's a lot of dice to put faith in. I gotta say that. That's a lot of dice rolls to make it there, even if they're good.
84% chance, 7 rollable, something like that. 84 or 86. But yeah. All right, Stark, we've got crossbows. Is this crossbows spam?
Crossbows?
Hollowed army name, hollowed crossbows. Yep, there we go. We've got 15 adjudicators with bolt storm crossbows, 2 units of liberators. Starting with the adjudicators, because what you see here with Gardas, a Lord Relictor, and adjudicators is sort of a Sigmar's moving castle, where you're going to have some stuff coming in front of a bunch of short range, very high volume crossbows with some heavy support units. The Storm Strike Chariots as bounty hunters, I think, is like the most like sleeper OP unit in the game. I
mean, outside of Gorgons, yes, but that's a different.
These are like 5 times as durable as a Gorgon.
That's true. But they won't do as much damage as a Gorgon.
I've been preaching chariots since day 1.
Oh yeah,
I had 6 of them. I had 6 of them, but I had to offload some of that. That was too much.
Don't worry, I'll bring my 4 chariot list at some point soon. 4 chariots and all paladins.
So the other thing you get
Paladors, not paladins,
is you get you have a battle mage, right? And so what Stark can do is you can give +2 charge to either the fulminators or one of the chariots and teleport them for a rerollable 7 on the fulminators or a 7 on the chariots. Sometimes that 7 on the chariots, yeah, it's just a 7 once, but like it's not that bad to have the chariot miss, because then you get a chariot in the middle of your flank.
I mean, yeah, the chariots, I like them because they can sit there on an objective and just harry an opponent. I don't even think of them really as a damage dealing model. They're just a
But they
tank
are,
that sits
which is
there.
awesome. So
Yeah.
And then don't forget, you've got 3 long strikes with
Yep.
Thunderbolt.
And he did take Thunderbolt Volley. Okay. And so last list we saw 1 drop with Expert Conquerors. This one we see 1 drop. I mean Battle Regiment, not 1 drop. Sorry, Battle Regiment and Bounty Hunters instead. So this I think if I saw the pips right, this is 3 drops, right?
Yep.
So it says at the bottom, I'm an idiot. So yeah, it's definitely wanting to contest for turn. It can be quite defensive, like the Sylvaneth list we were looking at, and then project forward power when it wants to. And then it's got some like, weirdly alternative threats, like 2 fulminators and 3 crossbows and the 2 separate chariots. So it's kind of hard to know exactly what to shut down.
I like it. That's
Stark's
my
very good with the list as well. It's he's rocking it.
It's my
All
kind
right,
of
we've got-
style.
Jeremy Lemoy, Signs of Storm, Hammers of Sigmar. So this is 6-up horde all over the place. 6-up horde within 12 of an objective. So we have a Lord Castellan. I'm trying to remember the Lord Castellan. There's a lot of lords.
He doles out a +1 to save
+1
till your
save,
next
yeah.
hero phase,
Yeah.
or something else, but it's +1 to save.
Nice. So +2 save. You got a +2 save bot here.
Yep.
All right.
Essentially, yep.
And then we've got, you see, get a +2 save bot, a teleporter battle mage. I'm not even looking at the rest of this list, and I think he's going to buff something up and teleport it and then charge. All right, let's look. It might be the Tempestor. Tempestors are the crossbow guys, right?
That's correct.
All right. Okay, so it could be that.
It's the Liberators.
It could be the Liberators. Could be. Oh man, no! Look at this. +2
you found
it. There we go. I don't even know if that's a chart. It's just like a 0+. No, but they have Star Soul Maces. They don't have the. It's 10 of them with Star Soul Maces. Okay.
It's 10 and 4 get the Star Soul
and
Mace,
4
right?
with Star
And
Soul
so
Maces, so they
I don't
will
know
get
if
the
we can see it, but he might have the Holy Command to give them an extra attack. So it'd be 2 attacks each with the maces, if that's the case.
Well,
It's a
and
whole lot of nom-nom
because
right
the
there.
6 have the other thing. They have +1 saves. You're looking at an easy +3 save before all-out defense on those teleporting protectors.
Right. And again, we
That's
see
it.
the 2 Storm Strike chariots.
Yep. And
The
it's 2
Geminids for the same
Yep.
kind of thing to stop that redeploy, probably. Yeah, the
Plus
tree
redeploy,
revs
stop the unleash
are
it.
5 tree revs should be in every list that can take allies, dude. It's
Very good.
Yeah.
Do the Liberators. Teleport the Liberators. That's my
I'm really
thoughts.
stoked to see this because this player, he's been coming to a lot of events recently, and he's always changing it up, and I like to see that he's like got all of the Stormcast and he's trying all the Stormcast stuff. So I'm really excited to see this list. I like it.
This is cool.
Yeah, it looks fun.
10 protectors will bust you up.
5
All right.
protectors can still bust you up. So
Yeah.
10 may be overkill. Who knows?
Yes.
We'll find out.
So we're going to go from Jeremy Lemoy to Chris Lemoy. We've got 4 Soul Blight lists. Mason, do you want us to do Soul Blight? Or do you want me to?
You take lead on them. I'm not as familiar.
I can jump in as well, but I
Cool.
primarily only know Legion of Blood.
Well, this one is Virkos, so that's going to be lots of rerolls for the Virkos casters, which you do see Belladama and the Necromancer. Radikar is not a caster. This is a really character-heavy list. So this is Chris. So Chris's list, you've got both Manfred and Vordhai and Radikar.
That is a lot of eggs in a basket. Wow.
Well, so the problem with Soulblight is they have a lot of amazing named characters. There's literally 4 named characters here. And so rather like picking and choosing, Chris just leaned into it.
Mhm.
So let's just very quickly, I mean, the named characters basically is the list. So we're going to very quickly go through what do these bring to the table. So what you've got is you've got 60 Winds of Chaff that come back. And then you have your characters. You've got Belladama as your casting support. Belladama can interestingly move block by turning models into wolves. You've got
She can also pass wounds to the wolves.
Yeah, so she's very durable as a double caster.
She also has the cutest feet.
The cutest what?
The cutest feet.
All right.
Look at our little
Duly
footsies
noted.
on the model. They're so cute.
Good to know.
Yep.
Manfred, the main thing you need to know about Manfred is that you don't get to pick when you fight Manfred. And it's very challenging because whether he charges, whether you charge, he can teleport away at the beginning of the combat phase. And so it's literally like almost always a benefit to your opponent when you charge Manfred, unless you're trying to like bully him off of an objective.
Yeah.
Your
So
opponent can also do things like fly 20 inches forward and just sit in front of your line and be like, that's cool, you can charge me, but like your army's gonna fly. Very,
If
very
you're-
powerful tool.
If you're a visual watcher right now, I just showed you graphically how to take them out, and it was finger guns. So,
Yeah.
and like to your point though, there, Matt. And this is not trying to be mean to Manfred, but I've had plenty of debates on Manfred, and he can be just as much of a liability because he wants to be on an objective. So I don't know. I'm still never. I'm not sold on Manfred. I'm down with Neffy. I'm all about Neferata
Why not both?
because that's just I can't do it. I can't do it. That's too much thinking. I don't use my brain meats too much. One thing's too much.
One thing I'd like to mention here, Radikar the Beast there, he is a named hero, but he is bringing in 135 points worth of wolves once per game. So
yeah,
that's real juicy.
And he is a beast in combat too.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
And he also doles out a command ability. He's got this weird thing where he can like, I don't know, he can like do commands in a weird. He can get a command and then do his command to summon dogs and shout it because he just casts it on nobody or there's no target. He just it exists. It's really bizarre. But you can summon the bodyguards for Belladonna, so you can kind of like bait out that she might not have dogs near her, but then you can just put them over there. So that's kind of cool. Yeah, I think this list is pretty good, and Chris has been pushing around this list or very similar renditions for quite some time, like all the hero or all the named guys.
Yeah, it works.
Stuff to know. Radikar the Beast has a command ability that says every melee profile of everything in your army within 18 inches of Radikar gets +1 attack on a turn Radikar charges. And then the big thing about Vordhai to know is it's basically a Vampire Lord on Zombie Dragon that has the old D6 seal that the Vampire Lord used to have, and is Rend 3 damage 4 from the lances on the charge. And so Vordhai is relatively mediocre damage for the points when receiving a charge, but hits really hard on the charge.
Wrecking ball on the charge for sure.
Yeah. And then you actually see a significant amount of endless spells in here. It makes sense with Belladonna with the rerolls. Cogs will give the non-Vyricose casters rerolls. Horrorghast prevents Inspiring Presence and something else, but it prevents Inspiring Presence and what else?
I don't know.
If you have models flee, it's an extra D3.
There we go.
There's your clinch in the list. If any of these summonable units are in there, right? You have 2 of them next to a unit. That's -2 to the bravery right away on top of any damage. So
yeah. And Horrorghast is just units within 12. It's not wholly within. So Horrorghast is really potent. It also has the longest range of any of the endless spells that you can like cast initially wholly within, and then a 12-inch move, I believe. So it like gets where you want it right away.
Nice.
Yeah, and at 40 points, it's super, super valuable. Definitely want to watch out for Horrorghast. Yeah, this army it can hit you pretty hard, and it has the bodies with the graves to kind of have some board play. So be mindful of the graves.
All right, and then Purple Sun, which is D6 +6 mortals to large units. Now, everybody knows Purple Sun. We'll keep going.
Yep.
Let's see. So that was Jeremy. No, that was Chris. And we got
Chris. Yep.
Roman. This is what subfaction are we? We are in Legion of Night. So Legion of Night, I believe, is the ambush subfaction.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we've got Manfred, Necromancer, regular Vampire Lord, Zombie Dragon. So
with the Crown Spine.
Look
at all of those buffs. I don't know if
you look at that.
More juiced up than that, dude.
That's pretty great. Okay, so you got your Manfred like you have, and then the Vampire Lord and Zombie Dragon. It's not going to hit quite as hard as the named one, but is going to be a better caster and can sort of tag team with the Kronstein within 3 because it's the master of it, and it's going to also there's a significant disincentive to putting down this board because then the Kronstein goes wild. And then we have it's actually a relatively similar list where you've got relatively small numbers of like sort of your chaplain and battle line. They're a different kind, but that's similar. And then character heavy with the Kronstein rather than the second big beater. And then instead of Belladama, you've got a unit of Graveguard. I really like this sort of just general as a Vampires player 120 block of Graveguard coming up. They're a significant threat that you have to deal with that can come up somewhere on the board that you have to deploy against. They're in bounty hunters, so they hit really hard against
Everything.
the battle line, and they hit hard against everything. And they come back. So having one of those feels really good.
Yeah, the Graveguard are gross because usually they'll be kept safe, like you said, until they need to come out of a grave. And then even if they don't make that 9-inch charge, because it's like we'll call it 50-50, then
well, then they're guarding the grave.
Exactly. Yeah, they're still potent. You don't want to walk right into them with just about anything. So yeah, quite similar. Just again, I call it like a hero hammer take min battle line. Big beaters here. Of course, the Kronspine. Yeah, I think that's like 3 of 11. Let's keep going.
All right, Nolan, Legion of Blood. Matt, you want to take this one?
All right, what we got? Vampire Lord on Zombie Dragon. Kato. And does this even need to be Legion of Blood? What? Okay, so there's one good buff or one good buff debuff here that the Vampire Lord on Zombie Dragon is going to be bringing into the front line of whatever the battle line is here. And that'll be to they won't get any debuffs to hit or to wound from that dragon, Zombie Lord on Dragon. And the hilarious thing is I never used the Vampire Lords on Zombie Dragon or on foot in Legion of Blood. I only used Nephi. And so I know they get a bonus to their casting, but I never get it. So what I would guess here is that this is just going to be they've got Flaming Weapon. They're just going to throw that Vampire Lord on Zombie Dragon straight in. I honestly don't really know much about the Kato.
Kato's pretty sick.
Rules.
He's got he can kind of pick between different things that he wants to do, but all of them are quite potent. He can be like an enhanced spellcaster or a really powerful melee fighter for a little points, like primo for his points.
Just real quick, if you were in any other faction, every list would be taking Kato, and it's only because it's the faction with 2 million really good named characters. You don't see them all the time. I mean, points.
It's a beautiful model too. I'm going to pick one up eventually, but for this one, it looks like we've got two Death Stars, essentially. One that's going to be harder to shut down, and then some bats to grab objectives, right?
I gotta tell you this real quick. 135 points, 6 wounds with a free up save, 5 attacks, rend 2, damage 2. You choose between 14-inch move, +1 to cast on mind, or the sword, the 5 attacks, damage 2 sword just does mortals.
What a big meanie. Actually, a little meanie. He's just a tiny little model.
35 points. He's like what a Vampire Lord should be. I mean, that's a really good model. Honestly, if he was in any other faction, it'd be in every list.
That's pretty good. You know what I'm saying?
That's like fantasy battles level of what vampires used to be.
That's exactly right.
That's Skink Priest good, Beasley.
Yeah.
One thing to note, this Vampire Lord is going to be like literally a suicide bomber, I reckon. Nagash is going to be in the bash hucking spells at you.
So? I don't think I'd use him as a suicide bomber. I think I would use him as a flank harasser.
I think
so, yeah.
I see just yep. Luna Wolf calls it, Death Stars. That's what I see. Just
two big things surrounded by the chaff, kind of just controlling 2 points together.
I mean, I would honestly use the chaff, put them in the graves, and just use them to get objectives and
Yeah.
try and summon them late game for that, and then just
Yeah.
let everybody else just go around killing everything.
Cogs Nagash is just fun. Like, right, it's 8
Yeah.
spells at full wound and you're rerolling them all.
You and I have different interpretations of fun.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I actually like Cogs Nagash a lot better than Spell Portal Nagash, because Nagash has a spell, if you haven't played against him, on his war scroll called Hand of Dust. And it says 1-inch range, flip a coin. If you lose the flip, your model's gone.
Essentially, yep.
Through Spell Portal, that's all of a sudden 19 inches, and it can be a real MP. But also, Nagash has 8 casts a turn, and so once per game, you should miscast and just end your turn sometime in your 8 cast phase, which is a huge pain in the ass. So by not taking Spell Portal and taking Cogs, this is like a more stable Nagash. Like, it's less MPE and also less downside of you constantly miscasting.
I mean, I like the list in theory. I'd be really interested in seeing how it plays. I'm used to so many bodies on the field, and this is very much just like, I'm gonna hit you with 2 very scary things and 1 little dude that's gonna actually do way more work than the rest of them probably.
Exactly. Triple threat.
I think that Kato is going to be like the all-star for his points.
He's great.
Yeah.
Yeah,
just
and
he managed to
it's-
not make his points back.
It's worth noting, Little Wolf says in the chat here, it's -1 to hit, +1 to save, and +1 attack with the flaming weapon too. So yeah, that
With the Vampire Lord.
yep, that's gonna be fun. I'm
All
gonna
right,
lose
we've
all
got-
my rats.
Jesse has got Castelli, no, Legion of Night,
Ooh,
Manfred,
okay.
Radikar, Vampire Lord, and Zombie Dragon. We see this sort of continued, like, there's really good characters. in this
Yep. Manfred, great.
The difference is we do see like a stronger battle line selection. So 30 skeletons, 20 skeletons, 10 skeletons.
And the Blood Knights.
Blood Knights.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's a little more mixed arms, a little more. And Jesse's an old school Warhammer Fantasy Battle player, and I think you'll see this as sort of more of a like strong mid-board presence with characters beside it punching.
Yeah, this definitely feels like that.
Strange choice on the battalions in a way, because you're taking like 3 big, so you know you're not going to be a 1-drop, and so I kind of would have liked to see the Blood Knights and Bounty Hunters and the Skeletons all in Expert Conquerors. But I mean, I think it's still a 3-drop, so it is going to be able to decide sometimes. But honestly, I think this list can get away with not deciding and be fine. And you would have been what, 6 or 7 or 8 drops, and you still would have been winning some.
Yeah, I think 3 is not a bad drop spot to be at, because I feel like
it's good. It's great. If that's what you need or want, then 3 is still super primo, because I think like 4 is, to me, is like kind of the cutoff. So 3 above that is great. But I just don't know if it's necessarily my take on that. But I'm outdropping.
Yeah, it's a different way
really
to play it, right? You could do Expert Conquerors and on Bounty Hunters, or you could go low drop, force your opponent to go first, so you're not just moving up and waiting turn 1 and making them go into threat range if they want to take the points.
Yeah.
All right. Then we've got the 1 Sons of Behemoth. That's Dylan. You want to take this, Mason?
Sure. Yeah. So it's like super barely a Sons of Behemoth lost list. Got a Gatebreaker, so it's in Breaker Tribe. So it's going to get +1 to, I think Idiots with Flags is like heroes, totems, I don't know, some things it's going to get +1 to hit against. All right, I can't quite remember. And he's taking Arcane Tome to make him a caster, and got Flaming Weapon to make that 3 damage flail a 4 damage flail. It's quite gross. And then Kron Spine for that +1 to cast on the Gatebreaker, just for the big lols.
It's a 3d6 charge, damage 4 +1 casting Gatebreaker.
Yeah. He was like, how can I have 2 Kragnoses in this list?
Yeah, pretty much.
So then to mention, there's Kragnos in this list, so that's where the 3d6 charge comes from. And then honestly, I'd say the luxury of getting 2 little Gargants, because that's actually going to have a lot of play. One thing I think that is nice is to have a couple of those little Gargants to do the things while you're like wrecking balls go in their face.
Go ahead.
This is just a scary list. I don't want to fight this.
Right. Yeah.
That's nuts.
It's a lot of hurt.
And you
I
had to
like
put a Kron
the-
spine
yeah.
in too. You get the
I like subbing out the second Mega in the Kragnos list for a redundant Man Crusher and an Incarnate. That's interesting.
yeah.
A lot of value there. Yeah, it's gonna be gross. It's kind of hard to like prep or to, I mean, you could screen effectively and you could try to shoot something like that, but it's gonna hit really, really hard. And it has a lot of wounds to chew through. People probably know, but you know, Kragnos does have a really good spell ignore, so maybe not try to focus cast on him. You know, keep your monsters away from everybody. Just hide your monsters.
Yeah, I feel like that one's gonna be a very mission dependent list too. So
All right, we're a little bit behind pace, but not a lot. We're 12 lists in with 40 minutes.
Okay.
Let's see.
We'll speed it up.
Hit Chris real quick. We're
Okay.
That's good. I can hit Chris real quick. So this is our one Slaves to Darkness list of the tournament. And basically what you need to know is it's all 3+ rerollable ones, except when it's 2+ rerollable ones.
beautiful.
So it's just it's save stacking. Very small board presence, very elite.
Kron spine.
Got a Kron spine. So you've got Archeon. Archeon is 14-inch move. It's really, really hard.
Big old
Doesn't
boy.
actually hit that hard for 860 points. He's very durable, very, very strong save, 4-up save against mortals. Just if you look at both of these sorcerer lords, pass out a +1 save. So one can give to Archeon, one can give to the Vanguard. They can both give it to one. They can both give to the other. The Iron Golems start out with a 3+ rerollable one. So that's 10 wounds with a 3+ reroll 1 save for 75 points. And then you have a Crown Spine, and you have more reliable casting.
And teleporting. Remember, Hand of Dark or
Yep.
Mask of Darkness will be teleporting something around. So after they get
Including
that
Archeon.
+1, yep.
Yeah.
After they get that +1, they then teleport off to do what they need for that one turn.
So the other thing to know, if you haven't played against Archeon, like Nagash, there's an auto kill mechanic. Archeon has 4 hits with his sword. If 2 of those 4 have a 6 to wound, it removes the model. Hero models only. So like it'll work on a Mega, but not on an Incarnate.
It worked on Vandus Hammerhand. I see you in here, Jack Ballard. I see you.
One last thing to mention
Go
about
ahead.
them, just briefly, is that Host of the Everchosen lets him do a command where he could know who will have priority next turn, and it does kind of change that dynamic a little bit if it's used. And so just keep that in mind, that army does get to dictate in a way, but it's more so just know the future with that.
All right. Oh, right. Sorry, did you say the know the future thing? I just had to respond.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
They have the command to be able to determine who has the next priority, and it's like roll a dice. It's not a choice, so it's like the dice gets to decide, but they get to know and you don't.
Yeah, that's a
yeah.
huge deal. Thanks for pointing that out.
Yep.
All right. Who wants to do Skaven?
I got Skaven. I mean,
Oh,
Matt can
yeah.
do him, but it's his list, so I'll do Skaven.
All right. This is Cameron.
Okay, yeah, so he took something similar to my tournament, which was kind of cool. Master Molder is in here as the general, and he can like bring back a bunch of Molder units. And if you look, he's got all of those rat swarms. So I think that those can come back.
I'm gonna go down to the bottom and then go back up to the top.
Yeah, same way as Nurglings.
Okay, yeah.
Only they say yes when they do it.
And then a couple of Warlock Engineers to dole out the more warp power and their buffs. Then you've got the big block here of 6 Storm Fiends, and so those guys are good at range and good in melee. They have like like all 2 of 2 of each. There's 3, and they all have different loadouts. So be prepared. You know, they're potent at range and up close, so they're pretty gross. 3 Warp Lightning Cannons is just the gamblers, man. It's just 3 big cannons from the back. It could potentially deal like 6 mortals each to you, or it could deal like none. So it is kind of fun that way.
It'd be 12 mortals each.
I'm gonna
12 each. Oh, right. Yeah,
Oh, go ahead.
that's okay.
I do want to spill the secrets for Cameron here. For anybody who also drops their jaw, you can actually put those warp lightning cannons in buildings. So just be aware,
They
whoever
can
gets the plan,
garrison.
that they can garrison.
Neat.
Because Cameron is actually good at reading the rules, as opposed to me, who just assumes the
Right.
worst. So, it's pretty brilliant. So.
Yeah, and so I think this has just a bunch of rat swarms, which is cool. It's just like board denial. They have like decently large bases, 2 of them, and they kind of just take up a bunch of space, and they can go through the knotholes and clog you up and make you have your 400 or 500 point units fight a 65.2 unit thing that could come back. So it can tie you up. So be careful of that, I would say.
Yeah. This almost feels like one of your lists, to be honest, with all the rat swarms as a denial. Style.
Yep.
Hey, that rhymed.
You get a gold star.
Yes. I've been waiting for one.
In post, can you add like party music here?
I'll actually have to get some on next time we do this.
Okay, so this list is interesting. This is a heavy Vermin Lord list, so basically like their version of a big hero hammer. The Deceiver has a teleport within 6. Also, innate, you cannot shoot him if you're not within 9. So the Deceiver is a really nasty ninja rat. The Warbringer, I'm less familiar with, to be honest with you. It's not as common of the ones taken.
I can jump in.
Okay, yeah, do.
So that one also has the if anybody's been in the Dimensional Cascades Discord, that's the main offender. So he offers the ability for multiple units of rats to attack when they die, which can be stacked. So in addition to that, he's just actually a very good, decent melee character.
Okay, kind of like the other Vermin Lords in that regard.
Yeah, I'd say he's better than the rest of them just in a straight out brawl. Whereas like the Deceiver will come by, you don't want to be in a protracted combat with that thing. The Warbringer will punch something off its horse.
Okay.
Well, the Warbringer has a shrug to the Stormbringer.
Oh, that's nice as well. What to just quickly go through the other Vermin Lord, the Warpnaw Vermin Lord. That's the Forge World one, and actually, it's just super valuable for its points. It's got a 5-up ward, and it can start the game in the gnaw hole, and it has like I want to say it's like 4 or 5 attacks with 5 damage.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. He's actually just a really potent, efficient hero, and he's on a smaller base than the other Vermin Lord, so that's kind of fun too. You got unit of 10 gutter runners. They're going to come out of deep strike if they want to onto terrain, and they do 6s or mortals kind of shots. So just be careful if they get like 3 shots each. I think so. That's I think that's 30 shots.
15, I believe, from them. They don't have any champions either, so 3 shots each. If you're at 5, was that a unit?
It's a 10. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, so 30 shots and 30 in combat. So they cause mortals in both shooting and combat. They're just better at shooting than they are in combat.
Toxins are quite good. Then there's a Storm Vermin there that's going to deal the be able to bodyguard onto, I suppose. And then the 20 Clan Rats just as a screen to fill out the cheap battle line. You do have a Warp Grinder there that he can hide in that pack, which is just one of those small guns that can jump out of the unit of Clan Rats at some point and kind of do a little gotcha. It's less of a gotcha. It's an okay gotcha. Let me pause there. But it's less of, so if you've only got the 1 unit of rats they can jump out of, your opponent kind of knows where they're going to come from. It's just a matter of when.
Well, they can hide it in both the Storm Vermin and the Clan Rats.
Okay, sweet.
So either of those are available. And it's not a gun. The Warp Grinder, I believe, actually, I don't want to put my foot in my mouth, but yeah, that's the little doom wheel thing, which is just straight up combat blender.
Okay.
Which they can change the amount of attacks they're gonna throw and then immediately die, which I find hilarious. It's so good, so Skaven.
Okay. Yeah, but definitely more hero hammer, and then the units, the reserve units are the big thing to the gutter runners.
Yeah. Yeah. The gutter runners are awesome. They've been kind of stars of every game of mine.
Okay, so this list, auto loss, I think. Big time bummer list here. No, I'm just joking. So we've got this is Matt's list. This is a Vermin Lord Deceiver again. He's gonna be in a lot of Skaven lists. I think if you're gonna play a Vermin Lord, I think he's one of the ones you want.
Well, Dreaded Scary explain
yeah.
Dreaded Scary.
What's that?
Oh, I was just gonna say part of the reason is Dreaded Scary allows you to teleport within 6. It's one of the few teleports in the game
Yeah.
that isn't running away. And so whenever you see a Vermin Deceiver, know that one of the things your opponent is going to do is going to be able to teleport to a more reliable charge than most players will be able to do.
Yeah.
Well, and it's hilarious because it's not just the Deceiver. You can do a hero. So you can actually send a Death Master if you want out to just immediately charge and get in somebody's face.
Or a different Vermin Lord.
Yep.
Like
which
the Vermin
is
Lord Deceiver can Dreaded Scare Leap the Warbringer.
Or if you have 2 Vermin Lord Deceivers, like somebody may have soon.
Who's in the forest to hear it, right? Who knows, right? The Death Master I really like, though. He's the new guy. He's got like 5 attacks in range and melee, and 6s are mortals, right? He's a D3. 6s are D3 mortals.
Yep. They're pretty brutal when they go off. But again, you're fishing for 6s, so you better fish pretty hard.
But he's also here to get you that extra Eshin battle line, I assume.
Indeed.
And he's powerful. You got the Warlock Engineer, which is just like the cheaper of the buff pieces that you can bring.
Yep, extra dispel.
An interesting choice, though, and a baller's choice really is the 15 Scryer Acolytes, because you had to buy those if they're a metal one at a time, and that's just excessive, baby. I mean,
I cheated. I went and found it. Even though those are literally my favorite model from
they are
Warhammer
really cool,
Fantasy.
but yeah, quite expensive because they're literally sold in like single or double packs, I think. So
yeah.
So 15 is quite cool. They have like a run and shoot kind of a thing, and it's D3 damage, I think, on their shots. So it's not hitting insanely well, but like it can be a bunch of damage if the dice are in your favor, right? After they get the juice on them.
Yeah, it's 1 attack each, 3s and 3s. So they're actually really good for standing and shooting when somebody charges you.
Mm-hmm.
That's their main thing, is they're -2 Ren. So you know, that's 15 shots at -2 Ren, do 3 damage each. That'll kill some things.
Yeah, I agree. Again, we see the 6 Storm Fiends, so that's just a big scary unit you want to be afraid of. Keep an eye on. It is a terrifying in its own right, but it's not unbreakable. Then you've got the 2 units of 5 gutter runners. We just spoke about those. The night runners are neat. A reinforced unit of those. They have a D6 pregame move, so I like those split up probably. But I'm sure there's a method to your madness with it reinforced. But I love pregame move. I love that you comboed that with the deep strike.
Yeah, 2-drop list too, right? And so I did want to go back just for anybody who was listening. The warp grinder is actually the teleportation thing, if that was what was on the previous list. So
got it.
Yeah, just wanted to make sure that was known.
Okay, so they're able to teleport up. James is able to teleport up one of the storm vermin units. Or the
okay. That's cool.
Got it.
And 2 gray seers.
And note that also we didn't say that this has Lauchon. And
I think it can move the Warp Gnaw Vermin Lord. He's small. He's that thankful base size to move on him. But he does start in reserve, so maybe it's to like let him have an escape mechanic or something. I'd be interested to see how that pans out. But that's cool that it's an option, and it could just move up a gray seer really far too. That's kind of neat.
Right.
Yeah.
Got it. All right. And then Mateus, as we've got our last.
Look at all these rats. This is amazing.
I know, it's great. Okay, we see the Warbringer again here. The Master Molder again, the Gray Seer. The Plague Priest on Plague Furnace is interesting. It's the first time we've kind of seen that in the Skaven list today. well, I want to revisit that in a second. Giant rats are sweet because they can be like really cheap battle line and kind of a lot of wounds and can come back with the master molder. So it's nice to see that he's got a reinforced unit there. But usually you see them because they're like the cheaper battle line if you can do it. But I think this is actually like a strategy with those. And then 2 units of clan rats.
You actually want the giant rats for the extra rend. When you double them up, they get more rend, so they can get
sweet.
up to
Okay.
a really nasty rend. So that can punch through armor pretty quickly.
What is the rend?
I can pull it up, but I believe they start low and then they go high.
And then while you look that up, the rat ogres are pretty awesome too because they're like 6 health models in units of 2, and so that's 2 units of reinforced. So that's 2 units of 24 wounds in rat ogres, and they punch pretty hard. I think they have like rend 2 damage, and then he's taken 2 with the warp fire guns, which is a range shot, which is just kind of neat because they're not so expensive that you mind if they are lost, but they do get to shoot and hold their own in a fight. So it's kind of an awesome unit to bring into your list.
Like Storm Fiends?
No, I'd think of them as a great middle ground between Storm Vermin and Storm Fiends. They have they have more damage than Storm Vermin, but less than Storm Fiends, less utility. They're just kind of a middle ground.
Yeah. But they can come back with the molder, right?
I'd have to check. But for right now, for the rats, if you have 6 or more models, it's minus 2 rend for 2 attacks, 4s and 4s for a dirt cheap unit. So
yeah.
They have the ability to be super strong and then just be pushed up the board by the molder leaders.
Mm-hmm.
I'm actually really surprised that they just weren't even thinking of curse, and they went with heal for the prayers on the plague furnace. I'm interested to see how this plays out.
Yeah, Mateus is kind of a madman, but he always puts up a good fight. So I'm really excited to see how this does.
And this is doing more what you're thinking about for these high drop lists, Mason, when you've got expert conquerors, like look, it's bounty hunters, expert conquerors, command entourage.
Right.
Yeah.
And those rat ogres are in bounty hunters.
They're going to be nasty.
Yeah, they smack.
They clap, as the kids say.
Do the kids say that?
I don't know. But they are only rend -1. So
it's only rend 1. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But there's still damage too, and they're cheap. They're cheap, they're fast, and they're tough.
All right, max weeks. Thunder lizards. I'm guessing
you can take this one.
But I'm not gonna look. Croak, engine, 3 snake bastillodons. And no. 2 snake bastillodons and a solar engine.
I just see an incarnate.
No, I'm totally
like,
off.
no.
Nothing. I'm not even close. We got engine, croak, Ashlith Ferris, Pink Priest. All right. So let's see. How do we quickly explain this package? Let's go to the rest and then we'll get to that. You got your solar engines. This is the regular. So the difference between this and your default sort of Thunder Lizards list is that Max has leaned into the errata to Thunder Lizards and kept Scaly Skin on his battle line. So Scaly Skin was removed from Skinks, but it stays on the Source Guard and the Source Knights. Source Guard are great anyway. You want 1 unit because they're a 2-up bodyguard save for Croak. And
mandatory.
The Source Knights are good because they're cav bases with that still get Scaly Skin, and so you're replacing your skink screens with night screens. The still Scaly Skin and can be really wide because you can go really wide with those bases. The basic package of the list is that this probably has Arcane Tome. Yeah, there's Arcane Tome. So the Ashlift Bear increases casting range. The Engine of the God can be cast through by Croak because it's a wizard. And what that means is Croak's 10-inch nuke spell that Croak can cast many, many times, 3 times per turn. And then the 4th time can be the D3 mortals to D3 units, can be cast through the Engine of the Gods. And because it's the Ashlift Bear, it's 16 inches from the Engine of the Gods. And so you take something that's 10 inches from Croak and it becomes 16 inches from the Engine of the Gods. The Engine of the Gods is a big monster. that has random effects, can summon, can heal, can do damage. But basically, it allows you to have this very forward facing monster that is that you can cast your mortal pulse spell through. Finding the incarnate's nice because then there's actually a really big disincentive to kill the main thing that you are using to pulse mortals through. And then you've got your Bastiladon, which is basically, most of your Thunder Lizards lists have one Bastiladon, one engine, because Thunder Lizards can either double shoot with a Bastiladon or double go with the engine of the gods. The last thing to talk about is the Skink Priest. Skink Priest is in basically every Seraphon list. It can give +1 save, it can give run and shoot, and it has a command ability that can be used during the hero phase to give +1 to hit, which is really important for the engine because you need to give it +1 to hit in the hero phase so that when you double tap it using the faction ability of Thunder Lizards, it's still hitting on 3s. So the combination of the Skink Priest and Thunder Lizards allows your Bastiladon to be 18 shots on 3s and 3s, run 1 damage too. That was a lot really fast, but like that's the basic package. And so what you're expecting is a lot of pulse mortals, a lot of medium range shooting. It's not a super like get forward list. It's like a march forward castle that is very, very powerful in the space that it occupies.
Yeah, and can afford to kind of throw Kronspine to the wind and just like make you deal with it while it just is continuing to kind of oppress forward. It can be really tough to deal with, and of course you got a Purple Sun.
Yep. All of that conversation is exactly why I can't play Seraphon, because I would lose my mind trying to figure out how to make that work or even describing it. So they get a gold star just for being able to put this together. And then who made the list here?
This is Max Weeks.
Max, you get a gold star as well for making something that confused me, which isn't that hard to do, but you still get one. I feel
neither
generous.
is the threshold to get a gold star. So here we are.
And then we've got Matt K with Dracothian's Tail.
Oh, this is Kangi's list. Okay, I'll talk about
I've heard this one's scary.
Is this the same?
Yeah, it's the same thing.
Yeah, this is the list he beat me with at ECO. This is a very good list.
Yeah, so similar to everything you just said before, except for you've got Kronspine bound to the Slann this time, the regular Slann, and no Croak, so a little bit less magic projection on that front.
There's no engine.
What?
There's no engine.
Oh yeah, I just meant with the Star Master and the.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. What this is trying to do instead, because this is a completely different subfaction, right? There's no double tapping. This is Dracothian's Tail. So this is the teleporting subfaction, the summoning subfaction. So quite a bit of a different gameplay. But yeah, you got the Kronspine bound to the Slann instead of Croak, so a little bit less magic projection. But if you scroll down, I don't think we can see him right this second here.
Yeah, there's a reason.
It's because he's got 2 reinforced units of salamanders that get to come in and deep strike. And those things are really nasty. They have like Ren 2 shots. It's like 4 each, 5 each. I don't know. It's a lot.
4 shots, 3s and 3s, Ren 2, damage 2, mortals on 6s, and then the same profile but 3 attacks in melee.
Yeah.
They're gross, and you're gross, Matt. I like it. But
and they have like built-in skink bodyguards, basically.
Yeah, it's not really 8. Like it's each of those 8 packs is 2 salamanders and 6 bodyguards.
Yeah. So you got to deal quite a bit of wounds to deal with it. Quite low bravery, but I think this subfaction actually makes them like bravery 10, right? Is that the?
Yeah, they're all bravery 10. Oddly high save. For some reason, those particular skinks have a 4-up save because the salamanders have a 4-up save.
Right. They hug the salamanders. But yeah, this list is super potent. Similar things to what you talked about before, but quite a bit more things to think about with this list because they have teleporting and deep strike and summoning. There's a lot of tricks that they have access to. It's definitely like a toolbox kind of a situation with some strong output.
Yeah, so just high level, the one thing to remember about Seraphon is these 2 different subfactions work really differently. The first list we looked at takes -1 damage on all of its non-skink units, basically. And this list trades off -1 damage for the ability to teleport a unit per turn and summon units, roughly at the rate of a little less than a skink unit per turn.
It's pretty good.
Yep, very good.
Don had an ogre Mon tribes.
Yeah, Don, ready.
Do you want to take this one, Matt?
Um, I was actually just talking with him earlier about this list, and admittedly, I still have not gone through all of my ogre stuff.
Sure. I can
I'll tell you if you want.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay, so the Huskard on Thunder Tusk is pretty cool. It's not taken too often, but he can like do a blizzard, mortal snowstorm kind of thing at you. I don't think it's incredibly far range if I remember correctly. But he's also got the Blood Vulture, which is like a 1,000,000 inch range, a single mortal, like basically guaranteed. So the Blood Vulture is kind of fun.
Exactly when you need it.
Yeah, exactly. This list also features Kragnos, so this can be the 3d6 charge, like we talked about with the Giants earlier, and just a big hitter, obviously. The Huskard on Thunder Tusk as general, I think, is what makes the Icefall Yetis be battle line. And those Yetis are kind of dope. They have like 6-inch pile-in. So
and run and charge.
Yeah. So they can be quite potent. I think again they are on like maybe a 4s and 3s or a 3s and 3s rend 1, but a higher damage, like a damage 2. So they can be all right, but usually they're not hitting super hard. But you can kind of spam them and do some cool stuff there. And then the unit of 12 Ogre Gluttons is really gross. It's just going to be a big unit doing that 3d6 charge at you, probably utilizing the galley vet ranks that they've now gained access to, so it can fight in 2 ranks. And that thing's just going to be a really big like hammer piece to complement Kragnos on the flip side, with a Thunder Tusk kind of bringing up the rear with the Yetis and Frost Sabers.
Yeah, and I think it can go either way too, right? I think this list is going to be interesting in how he plays it, because he could do it the opposite as well. Those things will come up the rear and like beat down anything afterwards too, depending on what gets in combat first and how his missions work out. I like the idea of the list, and the 6-inch pile-in and the ability to actually engage in pile-in from 6 inches, not just after a charge, makes the Yetis far more terrifying than they look on paper.
Right.
That's my TED Talk.
Thanks, Dad.
All right, we've got 2 Nurgle lists. Mason, you're up. Daniel,
take it away.
Okay, yeah, so this list is my fault, so I apologize in advance. But Coop is part of our Club Victoria's Secret, and he's leaving soon because he's a military family, so he's going to be heading out soon. And so he had all of his stuff like packed up and gone, I think. So I wanted him to come play still because he was still here, and he plays Nurgle, so I'm lending him my flies.
This is a very long apology for flies.
Yeah. Sorry.
I mean, I
need you to know that it comes from the heart, but also I apologize. So it's a double Lord of Afflictions. The Lord of Afflictions has Arcane Tome and Rancid Visitations, which is pretty cool. He does have the command overpowering stench, or the command tray overpowering stench, and that shuts off the ability to issue and receive commands. So very gross. It is in Drowned Men, so all of the flies are also going to have a pregame move, so you're going to want to be aware of that. I think there were 12 flies, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Yeah, a reinforced unit of Puscoils, and then 4 units of 2 Puscoils. So lots of flies, pregame moving, fastest unit in the Nurgle book, just as durable as the most durable stuff in the Nurgle book, basically. They deal impact mortals when they come into you. They have a lot of attacks. They're obnoxious, so that's why I apologize. One thing slightly different than how I played it previously, or how you've seen it in other ways, is this one doesn't feature like a big monster to complement it, like a Bellicor or a Bloab or a Orgoth or something like that. It's just got the extra Lord of Affliction. So maybe expect some to deep strike and some to pregame move, perhaps, as a strategy they could do there. This one also has a single Beast of Nurgle and 10 Plague Bearers. So some units to sit back and cap objectives. I would guess oh, it looks like he's just got him in a battle regiment and bounty hunters. So the plague bearers aren't going to count as triple or anything like a conquerors, but they are still just a tough unit of 10 for somebody to deal with. And usually people undercommit to them because that built-in 5-up ward and 2 wounds each can make it a really like obnoxious unit to remove.
Yeah.
They summon stuff. They have a weird wheel. They're fun.
Yeah, so your rough estimation for some of these is like you can get the Herald. The Herald is okay here, but I think generally what you're looking at is sort of a Nurgling, you know, two units of Nurgling in 3 turns, or a unit of Plague Bearers every other turn.
Yeah, usually if you know, if the things work out almost perfectly, you might be able to get the unit of Nurglings turn 1, but usually it's turn 2, and then you can realistically just have a unit of Nurglings every turn after that. Maybe on the 4th or the 5th turn, you're going to see the hero, the Sloppity Bile Piper, to stop some pile in now that you've summoned some demons. So that's another option.
That name for that character will never get old. It's
Love
the
it.
best.
Yeah.
And this is Leviticus.
Okay, cool. This is if you just rewind what you just listened to, here you got it again. I'm just joking. So this one actually does have 2 of those monster heroes in Blow Up and Orgots. So the caster and the War Master counts as general, a free command every turn. You want to remember that. He's quite gross. Lots of free commands there. And then again, the Lord of Afflictions with the overpowering stench to turn off commands. You've got only 3 units of Puscoils, but still in Drowned Men, so they have that pre-game move option, or still the Deep Strike if you wish. You might be more likely to see Deep Strike because with Orgots on the battlefield as that War Master, you don't miss your general being in reserve for the command point. So some fun stuff to keep in mind, lots of play there. Then 2 units of Blight Kings in Expert Conquerors, and those are kind of like the talk of the town right now, just because they're really hard to move. A unit of 3 of those, they'll fight back really hard, and them counting as 15 on an objective means that you have to send more than a 20-man unit usually to deal with them, because they'll pick a 20-man unit to under 15 pretty easily.
Yep.
Yeah. And if you send small stuff, they also get to deal like extra mortals at the end of combat. It's kind of a built-in thing that they and the Puscoils have. So there's never like a good way to deal with Nurgle, unless you can take away the ward save. If you can do that, do it.
There is ways, not for
There
everyone.
is, yep. Lumineth.
Lumineth, we've got 1 Lumineth. Jay. What is Jay running? All right. I can take this real quick.
Okay.
So Jay is running Techless, Lore Seeker, 30 Sentinels, 3x10 Wardens, and some endless spells. So let's see. How do you think about this list? So if you haven't played against Lumineth much, Techless is going to generally auto cast 4 spells on a 10. And those spells will usually involve a 5+ ward bubble for everything in the army. Re-rolling to hits is one option. He's got a huge selection of spells, but usually it's going to have a 5+ ward. And he is going to be casting an endless spell. Often it'll be Spell Portal. And then he'll be throwing a nuke through the spell portal that averages D3 damage to everything within 18 inches. So it's like most of your army takes D3 mortals.
Yeah.
And he can do something relatively unique, which is making it so every time you spend a command point, it costs 2. Other than that,
or teleport.
Sorry, yes. The other big thing is teleported unit. Yeah, so any unit can be teleported from wholly within either 12 or 18 of Techless. Wardens are surprisingly durable. It looks like 10 elves with spears. You got to remember that they're a 4-up base save, but they actually have multiple ways of going to a 3-up via all-out defense or their stone. They'll have a 5-up ward and they'll be -1 to hit. So you've got 10 elves with a 4-up that turns into 10 elves that are -1 to hit with a 2-up, 5-up that do mortals back to you. So very, very strong battle line. You have 30 Sentinels. Because we are using the interim Sentinel rules, they're 24-inch range and don't ignore line of sight, but that's still mortals on 5s at 24 inches. And so you're thinking like sort of 10 mortals from that unit. We've talked
a slightly
about
enhanced Shining Company, right?
Yeah. Kind of.
Yeah, a little more flexible Shining Company.
Yeah.
Soul Snare Shackles is a movement slowing endless spell, so he's trying to prevent you from getting closer. And the last thing,
not only that, if you're within the range of shackles, you cannot run or charge.
Okay.
Very strong denial.
Very.
Um,
And then,
Yeah.
Yeah.
one thing I might add just to sum this up in like the most loving way, I feel like Jay wanted to like play hard mode because I think this is like the weakest that Lumineth will ever be, and he still chose to play the new Sentinels and the Wardens and Techless as the general. So you're like giving up a command trait even. I don't know. It's really cool, and Lumineth does what it does, and it can still win a lot of games. It's still very powerful, but it's just kind of interesting to see. I do think this is like the hardest mode that they'll have to see because I envision their book being quite powerful. So
Yeah. So the last piece to talk about is the Lore Seeker, which can deep strike 3 inches away. When it's on an objective, it keeps the objective until you have it. But the big thing that the Lore Seeker does is a couple things. It has a spell that does a casting debuff in a bubble around it via Solar Flare. It also has a spell, Lambent Light, which gives rerolls to hit, which means the Lore Seeker can give rerolls to hit in the same turn where Techless is doing his area of effect nuke through the spell portal. And so there's a lot of potential damage here. And if everything we're saying sounds incredibly powerful and overwhelming, what you have to remember is it's a very elite list. There's not a ton of wounds on the board, and there's not a ton of like board presence, but everything that is there is a very elite elf.
And I'll
also please know we've dealt with this for the last like 18 months at least, and it's only been worse. So
yeah, and for anybody who just needs a tip and it's like kind of scary, the one thing that you can do is use impact hits from multiple charges to actually bring these down
That is a really
from
good
Shining
point.
Company. Not to Jay, I'm not trying to single you out there. We just for some reason have had so much experience against fighting Lumineth over the past year in this community. Yeah, and it can be very overwhelming to a lot of players. So
all right, we're going to take this moment to see how many lists we have left. We should have about 15 left.
It's not bad.
40. Well, I don't know if we do. I'm just checking really quick. We just got Lumineth done.
2, 4, 6.
Lumineth 2.
I think we have closer to 20. We better buckle in. Go quick.
17. All right.
I believe in us.
New rule. Only one person talks per army. Let's go.
All right. Who's got KO?
I do, I guess.
All right.
Okay, so this first one is Jules's list. Is that right?
Yep.
Okay, yeah, so this one's kind of fun. She's like trying to get a bunch of endless spells out as the non-casters. So it's really, I think one of them comes out of a spell in a bottle. I think one of them's got like a tome to cast one. I don't know how the other one it comes out. It's beyond me. It's like advanced KO tactics here. But an Ironclad, remember, can fly high and be all over the place. This army's got a lot of guns, a lot of dudes in ships that can like randomly have a bunch of bodies in one place and then get up and be in another spot with fly high. In that regard, the warp lightning vortex is going to try to get placed in your area, so you might want to like spread out against that, just as just a fair warning. And then if we go up, there is a frigate for another boat. And then within these heroes, I believe she's running the new one that can like turn off the ward saves. I think that's the
that's big. It's a big thing.
Is it the Admiral or the Navigator? I think it's the Admiral. I could be wrong, but I would imagine you're playing that one because it was like the one dude called out in their White Dwarf that got a pretty big glow up. So I think it's the Admiral.
Yeah, the Admiral gets to choose one of a number of abilities, and
right, but one of them, is I can take away your ward save. So if you're up against like Go Trek or something, or if you are a Go Trek up against this, do not go near.
Or
learn a lesson.
Yeah.
The only other thing to add is the 3 endless spells. Took me a while to actually figure out this was legal. I like checked this list like 5 times. Like, all right, is it legal? And I couldn't figure out Shards of Valgar is actually a generic endless spell. I kept thinking it was the Lumineth one. So what you have is Warp Lightning Vortex is stuck in the bottle, and then you have the Arcane Tome and then the Lord Arcanum are the 2 things that let you cast these. The big deal in Lord Arcanum is it lets an endless spell move 6 inches more, which means Ravenous Gnashing Jaws has a move of 3d6 plus 6. It doesn't affect the damage, but it does mean it has a very, very long range.
Oh, fun. Okay.
This is just a party boat.
Yep. Yep. Gotta love
Sounds like
it.
a lot of fun to play.
All right, then we've got
Phil.
Bloodtooth Steven.
No, we got Phil.
We got Phil. Oh, yep. Okay.
All
Another
right. I
KO, go
thought I
ahead.
was told that Phil was not going to be playing KO again, but
Where are
We-
you?
We
he had a
didn't
change of heart.
we
Uh-huh.
didn't get our practice game in for the other dwarfs. Him and I were
Gotcha.
gonna do dwarf practice, but
Okay, so let me see the big boats on this one first.
It's two frigates and an ironclad, and then two gun haulers.
Okay, so lots of boats on
Yeah.
this one. The gun haulers, I think they dole out a nice little buff to the other ships, and they can all fly high together. They're all going to shoot. So you kind of one thing I forgot to mention on the previous list that is important is they can't fly high forever. So if you can puncture them, so to speak, deal a fair bit, bracket them like a monster, basically, they will lose that ability to fly high. So that's something to keep in mind. I think if you went up to I think this is just 3x10 company, like your basic battle line, they're going to get free. They basically have free battle tactics with these company and their boats to like 3 dudes jump out of the boats and cap an objective, and then 3 dudes jump in boats. And so they have easy battle tactics. It's something to keep in mind. There's not a lot you can do against something like that. Again, you've got the chemist, the same package of heroes basically. Is this one taking a spell in the bottle? It is, and he has taken the Lumineth spell before, and he's doing it again. Okay, I think the Lumineth spell is pretty sweet. It has a chance to deal like D6 mortals, right, in multiple points of the turn.
D3, but multiple times.
Yeah. Okay. That's what I thought. It's pretty potent actually. It's weird you don't see Lumineth take it very much, but I do like it here because I think it also maybe like halves move or something. It is an annoyance and some good damage.
it's just static when it comes down.
Cool.
Right. So you can move away from it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, then we have Stephen Newberry. Stephen's writing Bloodtooth.
Ooh.
Do this really quick. We have a double Maw Crusher list.
Yeah, give me that death cabbage.
And 2 Maw Crushers, 2 War Chanters, a Weird Knob, 6 pigs, 3 pigs, 3 pigs.
So he's rocking the whole suite of the Iron Jaws here.
Yeah, I mean, so basically, this list can be in your face on the top of turn 1. And the big thing to do, so you have 2 big scary monsters. You got pigs that hit really hard. One of them is going to be damaged too from a War Chanter. And the big thing to know about when you're playing against Iron Jaws is that when a unit has completed its activation, if it's killed a unit, it can chain immediately into another unit. And then the other big thing to know is that after the after the combat phase, if they're not in combat, they can make a charge. And so this really can pin an army in its deployment zone and do damage against it. And so, when you're thinking about this, know that at any point, Steam will have an option to go at you very hard and very fast.
Yep. Lots of +1 damage. The Wa, they'll call that turn. The whole army will basically get +1 rend. So, like Beasley was saying there, when they want to, they will all hit hard.
Yep.
Also,
and don't expect a screen to save you.
Right. Yeah. Sometimes it can hurt you because it allows them to have more distance to get at you. The last thing to call out is remember that the Mega Boss's new thing now is in every phase, he can issue the same command up to 3 times, only paying for it once. So, it can be like out of sequence too. So just keep that in mind. That's all I'll say there. But you have a lot of fun stuff you can do with those Mega Bosses on 2 spots theoretically. Casting a bunch of commands, getting a lot of value there.
Yeah. It's a wonderful book. The more and more I read it.
Sorry, I don't want to do like tips on how to play against, but when you say don't expect a screen to save you, let me revise that to like think about the positioning of your screen and think about the abilities on the units, and you got to like space very consciously for the ability to chain activate and the ability to charge after the screen.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see. Then we've got IDK, Andrew Hare.
Yep. I can talk here if you want.
Go ahead.
Okay, so he's got both of the Deep Mare Kings, the named and the non-named. So they can be like pretty big hammer pieces to go in and get you when they want. Then he's also got a turtle, which doles out buffs, has like a bunch of shots at range for some good damage. It is only rend 1, but I think it's D3 damage, so it can be pretty potent still. And then 3 units of the Ishlian Guard. I think those are the defensive eels.
Yes.
Yeah. So 3 units of them, just to kind of zip in. We haven't seen eels taken as much in like the meta since their new book, but they are still strong. I think he does have 2 of them in bounty hunters. Yep. So they do have a fair bit of attack, so they want to go in and kill GV units. That's pretty potent. Also 2 Stormdrake Guard, allying in 2 dragons here, got the mortals. That's one thing that that the Deepkin can lack is a good amount of mortals output, and then also having just another threat of monsters that are quick, resilient. The Stormdrake Guard are very good in their own right, and they can kind of just be a solo unit. So it's nice to just kind of see them plopped into this kind of unique Ideneth list.
Yeah, this is very nice. And Andrew is a great player. So
yeah.
Jake Hicks, Gloomspy
Gets.
Are you familiar with this one?
Yeah, I got this.
Okay.
So you've got a Den called Trog Boss General, which allow Trogs as battle line. You're going to see 2 large. You're going to see a big unit and a small unit of stabbers, and 6 Rock Gut Trogos. The Rock Guts are going to be on 3 ups, re-rolling 1s, probably 2 ups with the command points. So assume 2 ups, re-rolling 1s, 3s, and then run 2 damage 3. So it's a very hard hitting midline unit. And then he has a Kron Spine, looks like bound to the Madcap Shaman. And that's cool because he's got it on the Handed Gork caster. So what he's doing is he's trying to make up for some of the randomness on goblins having a very powerful teleport spell that they cannot reliably resolve. So it's nice to see the Crown Spine there. You also have it on the Fungoid, which has a once per game better cast. So there's some, looks like a lot of effort to make sure you can actually get a teleport off. And then you have Launchon, which is going to be able to move. I think that's probably going to be moved to Trogboth because, there's Arcane Tome. And so this is, Trogboth is like a medium strength beater character, and that can move up the board with Launchon the Soul Seeker to stay up with the Trogs, and Horghast, like we've discussed, for bravery debuffs. And then the Loon Boss provides mortals on 6s to Loon for that 60 block of Stabbus.
Two things to add, because I know I'm breaking the rule here, but this list can likely and wants to make the Incarnate go wild on purpose. So you got the Sneaky Snufflers in there to blow up the Madcap Shaman if they want to.
I didn't see that. Where are they? Down here? Okay.
Yep,
please go.
Also, those endless spells happen to be 2 of the easiest ones to cast that move the farthest. I mentioned it earlier. Yep. So that's really nice for Kronspine to charge once it goes wild and level himself up on endless spells that are where he wants to be.
No, so that's important. I missed the Snufflers down at the bottom there.
And then one other thing, the Stabbas, if all of the moons align, can do like a boatload of attacks where 6s are mortals, I think, in addition. So they can, and netters, don't forget the nets. But just that's all I'll say. But this army has this list has a bunch of fun stuff.
Okay, so this is another Incarnate bomb list because the Snufflers can blow up.
Yeah, it's the bombiest, I would say.
Got it. Yep, cool. All right, then we've got Curran running Lofnir. So there's going to be a lot of Magma Dross. Mason, I know you do this one.
Yep. So I think this is basically like the Bill Souza list for people who care about other people's lists. He's been doing really well with it. So it is Lofnir, which allows you to have Magma Dross as battle line. So you're going to see 3 Rune Sun Magma Dross battle line. So you're going to see all 3 of them here. They each get a mount trait, which is really nice because they have 3 mount traits that are quite potent. Then instead of more Magma Dross, what you see is the 2 unit of Hearthguard Berserkers, because they get that 4-up ward when they're near heroes. And so then you see 3 or 4, I forget, total little foot heroes. I think it's just 3 here. And so while you're nearby, they're going to have that 4-up ward and be able to be bodyguard to with the ward. So, your little heroes are potentially more safe than the Magmadroth heroes are big leaders are. So that's something to keep in mind. The Hearthguard Berserkers are potent and powerful in combat and very defensive, but it's tough to decide what to strike when you've got 5 things there at 320 points, and each Magmadroth is pretty juiced up with an artifact or a mount trait. If you look, he's given 2 of the battle line Rune Sun Magmadroth's artifacts to make them equally as scary, if not more scary, than the Berserker. So you just got like five clumps of stuff you don't want to deal with, and then heroes to dole out prayers, wards, better rallies for those Berserkers. It's really good. And I also reckon his grand strategy is near impossible to deny. Basically, if he has the endless prayer out at the end, he gets it. So just keep that in mind. That's how that works.
All right, and then we've got 1 Flesh Eater Court.
Hey,
Matt, you want to take this one?
Okay.
Oh, I've gone up against this a couple of times now, and I'm always getting spanked. So this should be Charles Van Ness's list, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So this is built around the. Oh, did you change it up?
Yeah, it looks a little different.
The Kronspine?
It's built around the Crypt Player's bomb. This bomb
Yep.
will absolutely eat you alive, then come back and eat you dead. There's quite a bit of speed in these. Just be aware that there are actually 2 what are they called? He has 2 ways of bringing back those Crypt Player units. So you can knock them down all the way to 1 and then bring them right back up. And it's a brilliant list that'll hit super fast. I guess it's got a Kronspine, which fine, Charles, but
fine, you win.
There's going to be a lot more. There's going to be a lot more of these models on the board after around turn 2 than he started with. That's the beauty of Flesh Eater Courts. They just summon in for a command point, or in some cases free, and it is brutal. It's also worth noting that they all have the 6+ shrug now, or word save, no matter what. Just for people who haven't played them very much, I know they've kind of fallen out of vogue. As well as there's some great spells where they can either gain fly, or if they have fly, just gain an insane amount of movement. This is on the same level of like Iron Jaws on being on your face turn 1 if they want, and just making you feel sad about being alive while there are a bunch of vampires and half vampires eating your toes.
Just like the really quick, the White Dwarf change that matters a lot is muster can happen twice on the Crypt Players, which means an average of like 4 Crypt Players coming back per turn. And so if you have hero support specifically from the Infernal Court here on Crypt Players, there's a lot of resurrecting of that unit happening.
Yep.
So you got to take it out all the way.
Yep. And good luck.
Mm-hmm. All right, we got 3 Daughters of Cain, Jack, Wesley, and Dale. Jack is playing a really Sisters of Slaughter heavy list. This is MSU Sisters of Slaughter with teleporting heart renders, 3 gladiatrixes. I have no idea how this works.
He told us to be nice in the chat. So
it's a lot of really 6-inch pile-in. So they have 2-inch reach and 6-inch pile-in, and they get buffed from the gladiatrix. She like buffs their characteristic, so it can be buffed even further when changes like enhance your characteristic. It allows like all-out defense or all-out attack to bring it up even higher. So the triple gladiatrix is just to spread those buffs around. But you'll see these like Sisters of Slaughter are going to have all these bonuses like +1 to run and charge and things like that they get for being in Daughters of Cain. So they're going to be able to like run up and then pile in the 6 inches, or theoretically retreat away from you and then pile in 6 inches somewhere else. So there's a lot of fun interactions. You can do a lot of board play and still a heavy amount of attacks.
Go ahead.
It's okay. Good.
And Dill just pitched in here in the chat. This is Kraith, right? So they can attack again on a 4+.
Yeah.
So with this many Sisters of Slaughter, that's a lot of chances for a 50-50 to go to 100, right?
Right. And the last thing you'll see here, I'll throw in, is Jack is playing a unit of Alapexes reinforced, I believe.
Yeah.
So 2 sharks.
There's some shooting support.
Yeah. Does he have nets or harpoons?
Oh, good question. Harpoon.
Okay, cool.
No, harpoons. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So just some ranged output, some sharks, they zip around. So that's neat.
It's an interesting choice, Jack. I would have thought the Nets would have been better for this list, but you can prove me wrong.
Wesley Rittenhouse, Kelbron. Kelbron's going to be bow snakes. Yeah, so this is a
stabby snakes, bow snakes, Marathi. That's it.
Shadow Stalkers for teleporting.
Marathi will allow bow snakes to fire twice, once in the hero phase. The hero phase ability is constrained to be before movement, and so it's going to be off the base range of the snakes. And the Zealous Orator importantly allows you to rally snakes on a 4-up. So you have Marathi, which can't be killed for 4 turns. You have to do 3 per turn, and rally 4+ bow snakes, double shooting bow snakes when you're in range to begin the hero phase.
Yeah, and they can also make the Stabby Sisters fight, which is kind of important to note, because after combat, for every Blood Sister that's still there on a 2-up, you take a mortal. So that unit of 10 finishes fighting you, and there's all 10 left. 10 2-ups are mortals back, and it's every time they fight. So it's not just in combat. So if they're chosen to fight in the hero phase and then fight again in combat, they already have decently potent attacks. So the extra mortals are basically gimmies for the melee snakes.
And never underestimate the Bloodwrack Viper.
We are back to 3 minutes list. We're doing okay.
All right.
This is Dale's list. So which of you
5 avatars.
You get a gold star too.
I know. I
How
told him
about
I
a platinum
loved it.
star.
He does. He gets 2 gold stars. We don't do platinum stars here.
We don't do platinum stars?
No, but 2 is pretty good.
Okay.
But yeah, it's actually 5 avatars of Cain, because 1 is on the Hag Queen Cauldron of Blood. So it's just gross. It's super efficient. It's got a 5-up ward. It can monstrous action and can't be monstrous actioned. It's got, like, I think damage 2 or Ren 2, damage 3 attacks, like 4 or 5 with his big sword. And there's going to be 5 of them. So it's neat. It's definitely
this is my favorite
fun.
list.
Yeah, and Celestin Prime, so he keeps you honest, as well as the Heart Renders. So, though Prime can always start in, if you're castled up, he can just steal D3 mortals for free to all of your stuff, or he can stay in reserve and accumulate mass with Gal Maras, so that it'll fail no matter how many attacks it has. So it's fine.
I love it. 5-0. 5-0 list.
Yeah.
5-0 in my heart, regardless.
Yep. Very scary.
Yeah. Unexpected.
The tip is go read the Avatar War Scroll.
Yeah. And then read it again.
We have no more advice because nobody else plays that. So good luck.
I'm super excited to see how it goes.
Yep.
Robbie is playing Bone Splitter's Drakfoot, and I had to double check this.
Yes.
Just to be clear, his entire sub faction prevents ward saves.
Yep.
With attacks.
Yeah. But importantly, I just want to ask Robbie, what is he gunning for? It's not mortals on 6s to wound. It's no ward saves.
6 is exploding now. So it's just way to fire. I'm actually building an army.
6 is exploding army wide. Yeah.
But this is cool. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so he's got 5 units of the Stabbas, which is just a good amount of them, right? They are Ren 2, damage 2, and they have a chance to deal mortals on death when a model dies. This army is a lot of weight of dice, and now 6s explode at all times. So the no mortals thing is weight of dice, stuff's getting through, and now you're not ward saving.
Wait, Drakfoot is no longer ignore wards. It's now 6s explode.
No. The Bone Splitters period gets 6s.
Okay.
Yeah, and also half the army will pregame move, and also 6-up ward. So, and then when they call the Wa, it's I think it's only 1 phase that they get it. It might be the turn, but I think it's phase, and then they get +2 to that. So they have a ridiculous ward army wide when they need to pull the trigger on it. That's something to keep in mind as well. But yeah, this is just, it's got a Kron's Bind in here as well. So you got that to worry about. But just the Stabbas as well are annoying. They're 80 points. They can deal a lot of damage. So but you also can't really ignore them because they pregame move and they're just going to come at you. And then the Prophet, which you've highlighted, is going to have
He's gonna have a
glow
4+.
and tattoos, a 4+ ward, and he'll basically stare something to death every turn instead of casting a spell. You roll a dice, and on a 3-up, they take D3 mortals, and you can keep doing it until somebody dies. But I did not mention if you roll a 1 or a 2, you take D6 mortals, and then it's whoever dies first or until you want to stop. So I've done it and killed a Mega Gargant. I've used it and killed like a whole unit of 9 Dragon Ogres before. So it can deal a lot of damage if you're rolling hot, or it can you can die in a couple rolls.
And that's range 12, right?
Yes, I think range 12 sounds right.
I think this is a really cool list.
It's at the start of the hero phase, which is really important. So not much else can happen. You've got to be set up for it.
Yeah.
It's also worth
go ahead.
Also worth noting the glow green tusks add a rend to any of the boar boys, which means he does have kind of a nice little surprise punch every once in a while, or maybe first turn, depending on what happens. It is interesting that the Kronspine is put on the other Prophet without the 4+ ward, meaning that could be a little bit of bait as well. So
I think
this looks like a really fun list.
He wants to get the +1 to cast on the one that's actually going to cast, I think.
Right, because the other one's not casting, the other one's staring.
Yeah. And I think this list would care less if it goes wild. It's like more, it's thematic. So.
All right, and we got 2 Reapers of Corn. First, we've got Alex Gonzalez.
Oh yeah, Alex.
Okay, here I know I can talk about these for you.
Sorry, go ahead.
Okay, so you've got a decently hero hammer kind of a situation with it looks like one Bloodthirster, Wrath of Corn, which lets them pile in 6. Then you got the Slaughter Priest there to have their priest. He's pretty potent himself. Slaves to Darkness Demon Prince has Bloodslit Ground, so half run and charge within 18. Really gross. Bloodthirster of Unfettered Fury. I think that's Boomthirster.
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's the one where 6s to wound would deal mortals in a pulse that brackets down. And then and then Scarbrand to complement here. Scarbrand can just hit really hard. And then another Slaughter Priest. Interestingly, no Bloodsecrator.
It's not the Risk Thirster, that's Insensate Rage.
Oh, okay. So Unfettered Fury, you would probably have to remind me of what that one does.
I'll look for it. Go through the rest of the list.
Okay. A couple of units of Fleshhounds as battle line, a couple of units of Blood Reavers as battle line. The Fleshhounds, they do have an unbind, I believe, for dogs, which is kind of fun. They move really quick. They have quite a few attacks. I think they have like 3 attacks each. And, 4 attacks each. Yeah, so they're kind of just nice for 105 points. They're on cav bases, so they're just obnoxious in quite a few ways. A couple of unit of Blood Reavers, really cheap battle line, really just fodder for corn, blood tithe farming, things like something you're going to have to deal with and that they're fine with dying because the one blood tithe is better than the unit in a lot of times. But also those Reavers can hit, for 80 little points, they can kind of get you pretty good. But definitely big Bloodthirster damage here. And that's kind of what it's doing.
Yeah, and the Unfettered is the Rejoice and Slaughter. So it's the 6-inch pile-in command ability, which is super good because it's also engaging on a 6-inch pile-in. I've had Mike Hammond just throw Archaon at me, doing some crazy stuff with that, as well as start a hero phase, Mortal Wounds on 5s, and no retreating from the enemy movement phase. So
okay.
For one enemy unit, pretty good. Seems like a nice little area denial thing.
Right. This next list, though, Nicholas Camp, I think was his name, right?
Yep.
Is a little different, but you are still seeing Scarbrand and the Wrath of Corn Bloodthirster. This one, though, you are seeing the complement to kind of make Scarbrand a little better, which is that Bloodsecrator, the +1 attack, and he does. The Bloodsecrator does force rerolls on successful cast within like 16, so it's a pretty decent range. So keep that in mind if you want to cast around him. This one, though, you do see you've got the Mighty Skull Crushers there as battle line, thanks to that Corn of Lord of Corn on Juggernaut. I could be wrong, but I want to say that Skull Shard Mantle might be the one that like makes him an ethereal.
It could be. I can look it up.
Or
later
maybe
through
it's
this.
a ward. I forget. Because sometimes what you'll see with that is that he's got like the 3-up save ethereal with a 5-up ward, or a 3-up save ethereal with a 5-up ward. I don't know exactly how he's got the loadout, but you do get the skull crushers, and they are going to do impact hits. If you take the skull crushers down by 1 to a 5-man, they do less impact hits to you. So keep that in mind. Scroll a little bit for me, Beasley.
Oh, just keep going.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So then,
Nice.
then just some more units to fill it out, some cheaper units, the 80-point blood reavers again, the invocation there, the wrath axe. I'm unfamiliar with that, but it's like a prayer. It's probably going to deal some damage to you. And
D6 mortal wounds, and it's pretty nasty. It's actually really nasty.
So yeah, again, Corn got some nice glow up, so we'll just mention it. Like they don't have to spend all their blood tithe anymore. The whole army has on a 6-up ignore the spell that was successfully cast against them and get a blood tithe. So be careful with that. They have a lot more play with their blood tithe now that they don't lose it all. They have stuff they can do at the beginning of the hero phase, like charge you or fight you or move. So that on top of summoning that they can do, and the blood tithe adds up quicker than you'd think. So just keep that in mind when you're playing all the Corn stuff.
Yep. And to go back to the one specific artifact, it's a 2+ ignoring the effects of endless spells or spells in general.
Okay, so yeah, a meta choice there. I like that though.
Yeah.
This is Ricky Mittens.
This is Ricky's. Yeah, Ricky's my good buddy. So this one is pretty cool. Pretty similar to what we saw with Alex, right? We've got like 2 Bloodthirsters, Scarbrand, Bloodsecrator, and the Demon Prince. Then I think he's just got like min battle line with the Reavers. Yeah, and then Purple Sun and Kronspine, because why not?
I like that he's got the Kronspine linked to the Demon Prince, because you want to kill the Demon Prince right away. So that's like really smart. It's like,
yeah, and he put the Arcane Tome on it so it can have +1 to cast the Purple Sun, because you just got to fit in, baby.
Yeah.
That's all we need to say about Ricky's list.
All right,
this is wonderful.
This is mine. You guys can talk about it.
Now, D, you're up.
Oh. What are you doing? Good sir. Okay.
All right, let's start at the bottom. Start at the bottom.
Well, you got a Herdstone, so that's good. Also, the models that are the bane of my existence, forever trying to put into lists. Is that 6 cockatrices? You
6,
madman.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So 4+ mortal wounds. You could throw them. It's 50-50, and when you have this many, you're guaranteed to throw some mortal wounds. They're fast, and you will get monstrous actions on these. Regardless of how you feel about it, it's still going to happen. It looks like we've got a couple of Ungors. Cool. Nice. Ungors are great. Which, when paired with the great Bray Shaman, will be pretty good for getting off to objectives quickly, +3 movement on the any Bray Herd stuff. So we want to be looking out for that. Look like, Draconic Warglaives. Interesting choice. This is just going to be a learning experience for anybody who's not fought against Beasts of Chaos or fought against me. Because I generally run Dragon Ogres all the time. They're going to move in the hero phase. They're going to be rolling dice when it doesn't seem like they're supposed to be rolling dice. And Mason is such a gentleman of a player that he will be letting you know. And then Be'lakor, come on, man. Be'lakor is going to be perfect for this list. This is a list you do not want getting a unit denied, because Dragon Ogres will move way faster than anybody thinks they will. One thing to note is Dragon Ogre Shaggoths will provide a rerolls to hit, rerolls of 1 to hit, if any Dragon Ogres are wholly within the area. You can go look that up yourselves. I'm not going to give you every tool for how to beat Mason.
The one thing, though, I would say is the Herdstone also gives my whole army +1 rend at the beginning of the game. So everyone has an additional rend. And then moving into round 3, that goes up to a second additional rend. Additionally, it has a rally mechanic built in on a 4-up if I'm within the Herdstone range that grows every turn. So just more things to think about.
I feel like people should know that by now about beasts, right? Because they're
Yeah, maybe
they're
so.
like they're the subtle big bad. But
Yeah.
the big thing I
We've
want to
got a
talk
few
about
hundred
here.
viewers, so there might be a couple that don't
Oh,
know.
nice.
Yeah.
Well, the big thing I do want to say is if you want to discount Demon Prince of Corn, you're going to see it in this list. It's the Dragon Ogre Shaggoth with the Hailstorm. If he gets that off, prepare to cry while he runs circles around you, and then
Yeah.
Bellicor Bellicancia.
And
So-
Hailstorm plus Jaws combo is fun.
This is less of a
Oh, does that
denial list
work?
than I thought it would be.
Yeah.
But oh, and what's your herd here? What's
All
your
herd.
all herd? Okay, so don't expect any of this to really be ambushing in on you. Just expect a ridiculous amount of summoning because
Yeah,
it will happen.
Beasley, Hailstorm halves their movement characteristic, and then in addition, it halves the amount that they run and they charge. The way it's written, it's having the characteristic. Now, I actually could have done something where I have it and then have it again with Gavspawn, where the Jaws could have done some really serious stuff, but
Yeah.
we're not going down that road yet. This is just the beginning of a journey. So
Yeah, and Jaws, I didn't even think about that interaction with Jaws.
Mhm.
Yep. So yeah, that'll be pretty bad.
I'm fine to give that away because that is something that it is a little cheeky. So if you are listening, it's fair to know that is how that works, and I will probably do it. So
it's a good solid list.
it's
The
fun.
only
It'll
thing-
literally be the
Dr.
first time
Trees,
I've
man.
played Beast of
I'm just
Chaos. So
gonna-
we're all learning today.
I'm just
These are
laughing at the
all-
six cockatrices.
These are all monsters.
Yeah.
And it's no longer in the old GHB. They're not worth a bonus point anymore. So
No.
they all do everything
6-up
monsters
save.
do on a 100-point model.
You should attack them.
Yeah, just remember that they will be able to shoot you when you try and charge them.
10-inch
So
range.
that's one of the biggest
It's
things.
just a roll of a 4-up. I can do it for Unleash Hell if I really feel
Yeah.
compelled, but yeah.
That's just the one thing that I've even gotten called out on was
What?
not knowing that they could actually do that. So
I
That's
like to
always
remind
worth
people
knowing
because
for
I
anybody
have
who
done
plays
it,
them.
so it's just
yeah, looks like a good list.
So
Good
why
solid
all
list.
herd? Just why all
All
herd?
herd gives you can burn command point for summoning. You can only do it once per turn.
once per
Okay,
hero
so you're
phase,
getting
right?
an extra summon
Sorry,
point.
once per hero phase. But as
Yeah.
soon as you're getting, now that the way that monstrous actions work, and he's got so many
Wait, did you
cockatrices.
say once per hero phase? So 2
Yeah.
per turn?
I think so. Yep.
Once per year, start of your hero phase. It's before anything else, so it's only on your hero phase.
Oh, okay.
So-
It's really just to compound summoning points.
Yeah,
Okay.
and
Yeah.
with the
Because
cockatrice,
you don't have enough small characters for game spawn to matter anyway.
Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
and Gave Spawn is kind of a trap anymore. So
The other thing that is not often utilized in All Herd though is that I'm also reducing further the amount of models that flee to Battle Shock.
Yep.
So so I want that in case multiple units start to lose a Dragon Ogre or something. I have the ability to I did roll the 6 to lose one, but I get to reduce that now because of All Herd. So it has that added bonus, but really it's compounding the summoning.
yeah, and there's just a bunch of good utility in this list.
Yeah.
Good list.
Strong argument there. I could have gone no herd. And some camps might
No.
have said that could have been more fun or better or whatever, but I wanted to compound. Really, it's the summoning. That's what I was doing.
I
That makes
mean,
sense.
if
And then
if
it's
you
a good
were
segue.
if you're gonna be a nerd like me, you'd go no herd. That's how you do it.
I know.
So it's a
I
good
was
segue to Brian as no
Yep.
herd.
But if you want to win, you should probably go with all herd. All right. What I
so
got?
So wait, let's ask just part of that. Why no herd? What does that do? It's giving you different artifacts.
because this is an
choices,
old book, yeah, it locks you into artifact and command
Yep.
trait choices.
the master
but,
magic.
But there are some really cool ones that they have that aren't locked in. But
Like, Yeah, and that could be a different discussion for later. But
Like,
no
for
herd
example,
with
that
dragon
Tanglethorn
ogres.
Familiar is
No
not-
herd with dragon ogres are disturbing.
because you
Tanglethorn
get run in
Familiar.
charge. Yeah.
Yep, because you can run in charge and just do a bunch of.
The
mess.
run in charge is the no herd. Is that what that is? The Tanglethorn Familiar?
No, Tanglethorn Familiar actually stops a wizard from being able to
Oh.
do anything.
Yeah,
which is really
12-inch
cool.
range,
Right,
stop a
yeah.
hero from casting for that phase. So a Croak or a
Right.
Techless, I just get within 12. Oh, you can't do anything this phase. You
Yep.
know,
That's a
It's-
really good thing for people to know
it's
about.
like a mini Bellicor.
Yeah.
Yep. Only a little bit more reliable sometimes for some reason.
Yeah.
One of the things you'll notice here is he's got Protect the Herdstone, which I, as a Beastman player, would never recommend. But he has been killing it with games, so that's why
Yeah.
I should not be
I'll
recommending
add in
anything.
with that one. Not only do you have to demolish it, you also have to be within the range to deny it. So if you demolish that thing and then I kill you or wipe you off the board, I get my grand strategy. You have to
Yep.
deny it and be within the range. So
Wait,
he
say
didn't
that
know
one
that
more
rule
time?
for a long time. So I hope he's watching so I can remind him that it's better than he was playing it. So just
You
food for
have to
thought.
break it and then be in control of it.
You have to not be in control. I want to say it's within 9, but it has to be demolished by a monster, and then a unit has to be within. I want to say it's 9 inches of it at the end.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's not one or the. It has to be both.
Yeah, it's not an
Okay.
and or. It's not a binary condition.
That seems pretty good then. Why wouldn't you take that?
It's a trap.
No, it's good. It's good.
It's
very
good.
Yeah.
It's good, but it's a trap. It means that you're protecting your herdstone a little bit too much sometimes. So late game, it can cause problems. You'll see he's got Sundering Blades there on that Shaggoth, which means he can throw an extra rend on top of anything that he wants. That's really important to know. What's he got? Doom Bull, Master and Matt. Oh, we gave him an Arcane Tome. Okay, that Doom Bull, if it does hit in combat, is going to eat anything alive. And be aware of that.
And then he's got look 6 Bulgors, 6 Dragon Ogres, 6 Zangor on disc, and Kron Spine. So it's again one of those like multi-threat things.
Yeah.
It can still take advantage of that rally that we talked about from my list too, and even more so because of these more 6-man packs. And then just gross Kron Spine. That Wildfire Taurus is worth calling out. Talk about
and
that.
that's why he's probably got Master of Magic on there. So Wildfire Tauruses are pretty nasty. And basically any unit that they go over when they move, and each other unit within 1 inch on a 2+, they take D3 mortal wounds. In addition, they also strike last to any units that are within 3 inches of the endless spell. Yep. Remember, this also affects Beasts of Chaos. They're not immune from it. So you can actually push this into some problems. That being said, Brian is an amazing player, and he will most likely make you cry with these. So
with love.
I'm happy to see how this goes. With love.
Let's go to the last list. Last thing I'd add is these are move 19.
Yeah, gross.
Be aware, they're move 19.
Lots of attacks too. Not hitting,
does he
not
have a
wounding
shaman?
great, but
yeah, he has a shaman, so they are moving 19.
Yep.
All right, and then we've got the last list, which is Beastclaw Raiders.
No, it's not. It's he's playing Stormcast. I should have told you at the beginning. I'm sorry. But it's a fun one to end on. He's my really good buddy. So he's playing Hammers here, and he's playing double Big Dragon, I think. So I think he has Krondis and the Star Drake, which is just awesome. Yeah.
With -1 to wound, the nerfed but still good on Big Dragon.
Yeah. And then he does have the Knight Incantor for the auto deny. I'm glad he's finally started to listen to me and slot that in. A unit of dragons, because this is just like a dragon. It's a narrative dragon list at this point, right? And then he does have a unit of fulminators to bring a little bit of a punch, keep people honest there, and then a unit of liberators as well. And he's hammers, so these are going to have a 6-up ward. And then he is bringing that Everblaze Comet because he's got the Krondis casting on +3. The Comet can deal a lot of damage. You haven't seen it in a while, but it can deal a lot of damage. So this is fun. I'm sure he welcomes your Purple Sun decision there, because now I know he's lost these dragons to Purple Suns. So and he's got really beautifully painted dragons.
Yeah, I can't wait to see this on the table. I've seen the 1 dragon list, and that was just gorgeous. So 2 dragons, I may explode.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
not
Cool.
really much to say about this. It's just this is going to be a lot of fun to see.
I know. Yeah, it's hard to know what to do. You don't see it very often. Couple of big potent stuff. The Krondis has a spell that can like minus your hit or wound or save, and he's like -1 melee attacks against him. And I think the spell can also make you -1 ranged attacks against him to minimums of 1. I think he put the mirror shield on the Star Drake, which is pretty gross. So that big old thing, you can't shoot it unless you're 9 away.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
so
cool.
this is fun. This is coolest.
And this is a -1 to hit on a 3+ in melee.
Yeah, and I think the Star Drake has something where like he makes you re-roll hits or wounds if you have 2 damage or more, or multi-damage something. I forget exactly how that works, but just keep that in mind. Yeah.
Yeah. It'll be a good solid slog list. This looks like a grinder, so I'm excited. I hope I get to fight this one.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. That
was
was
awesome,
great. We
gents.
did it. 8:59, 40
Woohoo!
list. We got a
Nailed it.
40-person event.
Crunch
It's gonna be
time.
awesome.
I'm really
did it.
excited. I legit haven't been this excited for a GT in a long time. So
Yeah. Yeah, this will be a lot of fun. So we hit 9. Thanks everybody for tuning in. We appreciate y'all. Thanks thanks Mason and Matt for coming on. And yeah, this is great. I'm excited. Matt, do you want to say anything about the tournament? Anything just in case?
Just can't wait to see everybody. It's gonna be a great weekend. And paint judging is the beginning of the event. Check the pack to come early to set up your RV.
Because Ricky would.
Yeah. Also, thanks Matt for sitting this one out so we all have a chance to win. Appreciate you.
Have a good night, everyone.
Yeah.
See you later.
Thanks everybody.